Hello everybody and welcome to a very sunny Okayama International Circuit here in Okayama, Japan for round number 8 of the Next Level Racing Sim Racers Asia iRacing GT3 series. Happy that you all could join us this afternoon, and my name is Dane Baird. We've got Daniel Leet alongside in the commentary booth today. No Sam Fitzpatrick, not sure where he is, but he's not here. Marco Balbonera in the production booth as always in this series. And Daniel, you've actually driven a round or two in the series already this season, so you have a little bit of inside info on what the drivers are like out there. But Okayama, a tricky little circuit, and especially when the temperature is 42 degrees Celsius as it is at the moment.
Yeah, thanks, Dane. It's great to be back here at the booth, and nice to be out of the cars this time. I had a bit of a dismal run at Daytona earlier in the season, but nice to be back, just taking a glimpse from outside the box at the moment. But yeah, you're right. Very tricky conditions out there tonight. We've already seen a few guys have some difficulty down in towards turn 1 with that really high track temperature. It has dropped a fraction as qualifying's progressed on, but it's going to make for a very tough night for these guys where, you know, the circuits themselves traditionally at Okayama, it is already grip limited. Throw in the high the high track temperatures, it's going to make for a very tricky opening lap.
Absolutely, and yeah, lots of the corners here, as you can see, not the easiest corners to get around to begin with, obviously being the weird Japanese tarmac that they use in the Japanese circuits. It's not the grippiest tarmac out there anyway. But yeah, throw in some super hot temperatures, and that grip level, that non-existent grip level that was already there is now just plummeted even further. So yeah, especially we've seen down towards turn number 1, drivers have been struggling, but through most of the circuit, it's going to be a struggle. Yeah, usually quite understeery circuit in these GT3 cars, and yeah, the heat is definitely not helping that at all. Late in the middle of the afternoon here, which is why the temperatures are so high. We had Wei Han Chan actually telling us it was supposed to be a morning race and then accidentally set to afternoon. So the drivers are struggling and will definitely start rallying up against poor Wei Han. After this race, I'm sure they're not going to have the best of times out there. Qualifying 20 minutes, and we've already had 19 of those, so drivers will be starting their final few laps now. Gallon, of course, on provisional pole position so far by about 3.5 tenths. He's been brilliant this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been fantastic. I mean, he's a driver that's been in this championship for quite a few seasons now and has really progressed on exceptionally well now.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we're just currently looking at Huang, and we've got a couple of other drivers. Lots of variety in this series in terms of the car choices. And often when you have a GT3 championship, it's 1 or 2 cars that dominate the grid, really. But that's not really the case. We've got one of every single car, I believe, in the series at the moment. I believe we have a single Ford, a single Lamborghini. But yeah, the McLaren getting a show in as well. The Mercedes is very popular in this series, despite it being one of the slowest GT3s at the start of the season, which I found quite interesting. Obviously, the Audi and the Ferrari having a bit of participation as well. One of the two of the more popular cars in the GT3 class on iRacing. And yeah, we're going to get a new GT3, which is awesome, and which Marco will be extremely happy about, as you can see in 11th place, the sole Ford driver. The Ford looks like it won't be replaced by the new Porsche GT3 or 911R because the car limit seems to have been up to 8 for next season, which is sort of intentionally leaked in the Watkins Glen 6-hour announcement push. So it looks like the Ford is here to stay, which Marco is going to be very happy about.
Well, yeah, I think it's a nice addition from iRacing. Obviously, we get an increase in the grid capacity and car count, which is only going to be, you know, further develop these championships, as we're seeing here at the moment with the 7 manufacturers well represented. But to get in the Porsche there, really looking forward to it. I know that's been on the cards for quite a few years since they first announced there was meant to be a GT3 Porsche coming. Oh, that would have been close to 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years ago now, that was first coming out. So it's good to see that that'll be there. And as you say, we've still got the Ford out there, which very quick in a straight line, which around here, especially with that back straight, which is super long, might be in for a chance down in towards the hairpin.
Yeah, I think it was 2017 that Porsche deal was announced, where they had the Porsche Cup car, the Porsche GTE and the Porsche 919 LMP1. I think they were all announced at similar time, and yeah, it's good to see that relationship with Porsche and iRacing and real world companies in general being strengthened throughout the last year or so. We've got like obviously the improved relationship with IMSA and NASCAR taking it very seriously as well, which is really cool to see. The new NASCAR next gen cars on iRacing is cool to see. And oh, at the end of qualifying, Kevin Huang destroying his McLaren. Luckily, he'll get a new one to start the race with. But yeah, qualifying is over, and looks like almost everyone has finished their laps. And actually, yes, everybody has finished their laps. So we're just waiting for the time to run out, it seems, because a couple of drivers haven't actually finished the lap that they're on, then they towed. And that seems to confuse iRacing every now and again. So, yeah, that's... oh, they've pitted. That's what happened. They pitted and haven't crossed the line. So, yeah, they're just sitting in the pit box. And until they tow, we won't be able to get started in the race. There we go. As you can see in the background, the session has reset and we will get ready for the race. It should be a good one. Just hoping that all 22 drivers can make it through the first few laps cleanly.
Well, yeah, and that's the big thing, as we're saying. The run into turn one, it's a very late entrance because you need to sort of square that corner off. So, for anyone coming down and missing that markup, as we saw from Kevin just at the end of qualifying, they're going to have a big incident.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it is Gallon who will start on pole position. Then we've got Kevin Huang in the McLaren lining up alongside. The second McLaren of Nicolas Fanart will line up in third. Then we have got Park, then Ratu, Hong Sawet, Taikim, Tixier, Toi, and Jahan An, who has put the Ford in 10th on the grid. So it's a bit of a myth that the Ford is slower than some of the other GT3s out there. He's stuck it in 10th on the grid. Brilliant result for the Ford driver. Then Canapon in 11th with Jamal Gandor in 12th. And then rounding out the 22 car grid, we've got Benjamin Brook for laps at Racing, Ryan Long, and then Simon Sanchez in 15th, Cameron Stubber in 16th, out Aaron Mitt in 17th, Glenn Paolo, the Singaporean, in 18th. Then Kin Kyong, Boon Sanong, and we've also got Thomas Ferry and Kei Kai in 22nd. So, yeah, not the biggest grid we've seen all season, but still plenty cars for this fairly tight and twisty Okayama circuit. And yeah, we're just waiting for the last of the drivers to get onto the grid. I think we're just waiting for one driver to get onto the grid, and there the car pops up onto the screen, and we are just about ready to go. The iRacing pace car will take them to the final corner, and then the field will be under control of Gallon. What are you expecting at the start of the race? Do you think they're all going to make it through cleanly, Daniel?
Well, fingers crossed, yes, they will. I'm expecting, especially down in the mid-pack, if they can get the cars away through that double left-hander that brings them onto the front straight, right-hander that brings them on the front straight. We might see some 2 and 3 wide action as they come down and towards that first turn, but hopefully everyone gets it all settled down and we get a good run through that first opening lap.
Absolutely. One of the Mercedes cars, I think it was Tixier in 8th, not getting going at the start of the pace lap. Luckily, managed to actually get that car started and can take part in the race. I was worried a bit for a second that might have a bit of a technical issue, but we don't. And now the field is under the control of Luis Gallon, the Brazilian, in the number 21 Mercedes. Crosses the line, the green flag is waving, and we are green for round number 8 of the Next Level Racing Sim Racing Asia iRacing GT3 series at Okayama, and Gallon easily leads into turn number 1. We've got overtakes being made left, right and centre in the midfield. I don't see anyone dropping down the field. They're 3 wide in the back end of the top 10, and I think everyone's just about made it through cleanly. No one's dropping down the timing tower, so it looks like we have made it through the first corner cleanly, which is very impressive indeed. Riding on board with the Ford of Jahan An into turn number 5 now. This is where we're going to see quite a few moves being made, not necessarily through the corner, but definitely out of it and down the back straight in towards the hairpin. Definitely going to be one of the main overtaking opportunities today, and it is Gallon who leads Huang and Park, who has gained a position on Nicolas Fanart for 3rd position. So move there for Park, and yeah, he's up in the 3rd. We've also got a move in the lower end of the top 10 between Tixier and Kim, so Tixier moving up into 7th there, and looks like someone might have run a little bit wide there in the background of the shop. There's still going side by side further back, but Gallon does lead as they come to the end of this first lap, and there's a McLaren going a bit slowly.
Yeah, Tai Kim just looks like got into a little bit of a contact there. Sorry, it's Nicholas Variant getting a little bit of an issue there. But it got that car back underway, so shouldn't be too bad. But how about the start from Luis Gallon? Controlled the getaway superbly there and got himself a nice little bit of breathing room as they head down through the opening. Everyone else, though, to say, did very well. Keeps the cars unhurt and injured, and everyone continuing on. Some good moves throughout the field too. Someone Sanchez gaining 3 spots a little bit further down the field as well, so he's had a good early getaway. As you see, the guy's still too wide down through turn 3 down into the S's here, which is a pretty quick place. You've got to be careful of that gravel trap just sitting on that outside there.
Absolutely, so it's to dip the outside wheels into that gravel trap, and once you do that, well, you can say hello to the car behind you, because you'll be facing them very shortly as there's a bit of door banging. One of the BMW is going a little bit slowly, and now the Mercedes going up the inside. We've got an Audi coming through as well, trying to go through the middle in 9th place there. Probably not going to try and make it 3 wide, I would hope, into the hairpin. No. And the BMW and the 38 car is Ratu going to be left on the outside to dry, and they're going side by side like 3 rows back as well, just behind. Somehow they're keeping it very clean here, which is not what I'm used to here at Okayama, especially. These pretty wide GT3 cars don't usually make for the best racing here, but these drivers proving us wrong. And I think finally we've had the first driver in the wall. There it is, the 76 Kim Kyung in that machine has found his way into the wall. So I'm not too sure what happened there, but that was between the double left-hander and the first of the double hairpins in that final sector. Gallon finishing lap number 2, still out in front by 1.5 seconds now, building up that gap as always, and the field starting to calm down just a little bit, but still very much in the range where we can see some overtakes happening in the middle sector.
Oh, absolutely, and I think that's going to be the sort of the story of tonight, is the way the cars flow and different layouts and performance styles that we've got in all these cars. Obviously the front engine and the Mercedes and the BMW, the mid for the Ferrari, the Ford and the Audi. They're all going to be suited to different portions of this circuit, and I think especially through the mid section of the lap where it is very twisty, the mid-engine cars are really going to come into play down these long straights. So the power of the BMW and the Mercedes really going to come into their own. They're going to be able to get a good solid run there. As you see the Ford down the inside, and looks like Arndt has managed to get that one through on Gendor, and that's a nice move down into that hairpin as well.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that Ford doing pretty well there for Anne so far this season. We're constantly seeing there or thereabouts near the top 10. So good to see there. I'm sure that makes Marco very happy, as always, with the Ford. And yeah, so just looking down the order, the field at the front, the first few drivers started to spread out, but then what we're looking at here is where the field starts to bunch up a little bit. Take him in the 777 in that Mercedes. And looking back, you've got the cars pretty close together. This is where we're going to be seeing the majority of the moves being made in that train, and then near the back we've got a couple of stragglers near the end who are a second or two behind each other. But here we have Toy just 3/10 away from Ratu there in the BMW, struggling a little bit in the BMW. Has lost 3 positions since the start of the race, now has the Audi hot on his tail. So this should be interesting out of turn 5 and onto that long straight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's very uncharacteristic for Ratu, who is very comfortable in the GT cars, whether it's the GT3 or GTE, as you've seen in a few other championships. So this is a little bit probably unnerving for him at the moment, just to be getting swallowed up, but expect him to definitely play himself back into contention as he gets back to grips with the car. But for the guys further down, they need to be cautious here. You don't want to half stick the nose up the inside, maybe think of a move and then have it chopped and ultimately turn someone around. So a little bit of smart driving for those guys, picking those opportunities before you can get the passes through is going to be key for them to come through. As we have a look here at Gandor now on the back of Arn in the Ford there. We'll see what they're able to do as they work their way up to that second double-hander. But I'm really surprised that it is only lap 4, it's very early in the race, but the Ford really isn't falling off much at all. It's keeping the tyres underneath it quite nicely early on.
Yep, absolutely right. And got a bit of a damaged car there for Thomas Ferry in the number 5. And yeah, that's not looking too good there. There's quite a bit of bumper damage to that front of the car. It's all crumpled up. So not too sure what's caused that. Yeah, that BMW not looking too healthy at the front. But most of the cars don't have any damage on them at all, which is fantastic to see. Here we have a little bit of a battle for 4th. We've got Huang Sawet in the Audi with Tixia just behind in the Mercedes, so 4th and 5th in the field now. Remember, we do have pit stops that the drivers are going to have to make as well, so that could throw a little bit of a spanner in the works as well. And into the hairpin, nothing in terms of overtaking opportunities for Tixia. They is not quite close enough to be able to make that work, but they do have to watch out because behind them they do have Nicholas Fanat just behind in the McLaren, who is looking to try and catch up that gap just a little bit as they make their way to the end of lap 5.
Yeah, we'd expect to see Tenet come in, Kim come in and maybe get himself caught up onto that train as well. Texi is going to be wanting to look for a move here, and based on the pace at the moment, we may see him potentially a little bit down the line here, maybe look to play the undercut strategy and come in a bit earlier, get away from everyone, get yourself in a nice bit of clear air and press on. But that sort of strategy will also have its own sort of double-edged sword where it's going to take a bit of life out of the tyres, so we'll wait to see what that does. But currently, as I say, the first two out front, not only in the race but also in the championship with Gallon and Huang out front as a move down here into turn 1, not quite close enough, but just that BMW, it's really struggling down to turn 1, not being able to get the nose rotated through there, and we might see another positional loss here for Ferrier.
Yeah, it does seem that the BMW not the car that suits this track and these conditions. It definitely does seem like the cars that rotate a little bit better, like the Audis, do seem to have a little bit of an edge over it. And we do have Kevin Huang in second. The gap is now just about 3 seconds to Gallon up in front in his Mercedes, which isn't a car known for its rotation. It's normally one of the cars that people recommend beginners in the GT3 class drive because of its planted. It's usually very planted to the circuit, although I do believe in recent updates it's not as planted as it used to be about a year or so ago. But the McLaren of Huang just behind, he's got a second behind him to park in the Audi, so although it's not very close on track time-wise, it's a gap that you wouldn't think is too difficult to try and close down. They're setting pretty much identical lap times as well, those two in second and third, so yeah, it should be interesting. The drivers usually don't try and make too much happen in I would say the second and third quarters of the race, but once the race starts to near its end, maybe 45 minutes or so after the pit stops and everything, the drivers start to get a little bit more racy, so yeah, we should start to see them making more moves a bit later on in the race. Now it's more about just conserving the tyres, I would think, because of the massive temperatures that we have here. Whoever has the best tyre life near the end of the race is going to have a massive advantage.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We just saw there the graphics on the side of the screen there. It's still 40 degrees out on track, so it's definitely taking its toll here, and you know, the guys out front are just going to have to massage these cars all the way through. But you know, some very strong competitors that have been in these cars for many seasons now. I don't think I've seen Lewis Gallon or Kevin Huang. Well, actually, I've seen Kevin in a Ford in earlier SRA championships many years ago, but you know, both these two primarily drive those two cars whenever it is a GT3 championship, so they're well versed in how to get the most out of those cars. So expect them to probably be one of the two drivers that are going to get the best tyre life out of these cars as the race continues on. Have a look here at Brad Ratt, who's still continuing to fall a little bit further down the standing order in 8th position. Ty Kim just ahead there in the Mercedes, and it's probably a little unnerving there for Ratu, who just doesn't quite seem to have the pace. And if we look at the lap times, it was a 1:29.35 for him by comparison. The leader's out front, 1:28.8, so a little bit of work left in that car to get it up to where he needs to be.
Yep, and that might be down to setup maybe, but also, yeah, quite possibly just the characteristics of the car not suiting these conditions at all. But he has caught up a little bit to the Mercedes just in front, because looks like Kim went a little bit deep into turn 1 and lost quite a fair chunk of time actually. So yeah, it should be an interesting race. We have just gone a quarter of the race distance, around about 11 minutes into the race, and yeah, you can see there we're actually gaining around about a tenth of a second so far in this lap, and yeah, he's closing that gap all the time, but trying to maybe make a move and not lose the position straight away is going to be a little bit more challenging. We have got a replay on the screen. I wonder what's happened here. Oh, interesting. Okay,
yeah,
just pulling over.
Well, that's very weird. Not saying we would have expected to see the short field that didn't have enough fuel in the car to get it through, or just a miscalculation. That's very odd. He has returned to the pit lane, however, so potentially the first of the retirements tonight.
Gandor has just made his way into the pit lane. Do you think this is a scheduled pit stop, or?
You would think. Sure. I reckon you'd be a pretty safe bet to think it is likely to be an early pit stop. I mean, he was in some pretty stiff competition at the start of this one. He wasn't that far behind Brad Ratu, so maybe trying something a little bit alternative to get out of the way. But you know, tyre life here with the conditions of the circuit is going to be something that's going to play into attention later on. Or is it maybe that it just didn't quite get the tyre set up early on, and maybe trying some different pressures to help with the track temperatures as they stand?
It could be a lot of things, but yeah, it's not any retirement because he's back out on the circuit, which is good to see. And yeah, he's 46 seconds off the lead at the moment, but of course he has now made a pit stop. We'll have to see if he can make that last all the way to the end of the race. I would think he could. As some 12 minutes into the race, probably could do that. I'm not too sure how taxing on fuel Okayama is, but yeah, I think he wouldn't have pitted if he wouldn't be able to make it to the end of the race. Outside the top 10 then we've got Leong here in the 999 McLaren. He's got a Ferrari of Brook just behind, and then also Ferry in the BMW. These BMWs not having a great time out there today.
No, they're continuing to fall further back, which is
yeah. Oh, Kim into the pits. So the early stoppers, I guess, starting to make their way into the pit stops now, and oh, that Lamborghini, I think that's the second time that Lamborghini's made its way into the wall at the same place. Yeah, you can see the rear damage from the first time, and now slamming into the wall head on, and oh yeah, all over the gravel. That's a one-way ticket to Wall City.
Yeah, and a fair bit of damage there. Not the way you really want to see your nice, clean Lamborghini finish up, not only once, but twice in the same wall. It's not the best there, but I have got it back, so hopefully we'll see that car return to the lane.
Absolutely. A couple more drivers making their way into the pits now, and you can see Gandor's gained a couple of positions since he came out of the pits. So yeah, the early stoppers getting their pit stops out the way early, and then trying to make their way throughout the race. So trying an extreme undercut on some of the other drivers, but you can see it's worked out pretty well for Gandor. He's got 8 seconds of clear air in front of him. He has absolutely no pressure at all, and he can just focus on his laps and see what he can do here. And Kim is the highest up placed driver to have made a pit stop. Everybody else above in the top 15 has not made a pit stop yet. Hopefully for Kim will be hoping that those drivers in front make a pit stop before he catches up to them, because otherwise it could be a bit problematic trying to make their way through traffic. It's not what you want when you're trying to make an undercut.
No, not at all. But for Kim too, he's also got championship contentions to think about as well. He's currently sitting 4th in the title race at the moment, some 28 points behind Sebastian Texeira. So if he's able to gain a little bit here with this move and pick up a few spots as the rest of the race cycles through, this pretty much coming in good stead for him as the drivers consider the long haul for the rest of the championship here, as Park just shows the nose down the inside. And that is not what Kevin wants to see there. That was almost on. That was a long way dive off the back there, and fortunate just to be able to pull that up before they got into the hairpin.
Oh, he's run a little bit wide there as well, even some nice old gutters in the grass there. But yeah, that must have been a little bit terrifying for the McLaren driver. They're looking in the mirrors and thinking, oh, there's a car there now. But yeah, Parker's now 1.2 seconds back, lost a little bit of time there. But yeah, Juan cutting the nose right off that Audi. Possibly risky. I think if it was another driver, I might have just left a little bit of room. But Juan said, no, you're not getting fast like that. And slamming the door very much shut. And now it's actually just extended the gap between them by about 0.2 of a second in the last few corners or so. So pushing a little bit harder now to try and make sure that doesn't happen again on the next lap.
Well, yeah, it was an opportunistic move to stick the nose down the inside. I think he was maybe just trying to frighten Kevin into just running a little wide through the hairpin. But Kevin's been awake to those moves for a very long time, and I myself remember some fantastic battles when he was in the Ford at Daytona, and I was likewise in the Mercedes, down into turn one consistently, and we had some fantastic ding-dong battles. So he knows all about where you can get a car down and where you can't here. As we have a look back at Tai Kim coming around the final corner there, I think he might have actually just dropped this one well off in the gravel. It's back up though. So yeah, so Kevin is not going to be an easy competitor to be spooked at all.
Yeah, definitely not. I actually won the Sebring 12 Hours this year, a few weeks, a month or two ago now, by spooking out the driver in front of me. Yeah, it was a bit of a miscalculation in terms of the fuel, and we had to save about 8 laps in the last hour and a half. And yeah, we were losing a lot of time to the leaders, so instead of saving the fuel, I pushed and tried to overtake the leader, who ended up making a mistake and crashing out and gifted us the win. So it does definitely work. It's a good tactic, but as you said, I don't think it's going to work on Kevin.
Well, yeah, and look, for a lot of drivers, as you say, definitely a good strategy to employ, but you got to pick the right competitor to stick that up against. If you have a look here at Simon Sanchez closing in, or actually trying to pull a bit of a gap here over Campon, and these two Ferraris pretty close together. Looking at the pace advantage, Sanchez had a 1/10 of a second in his pocket last time by, but nothing really between them. But it's been a good drive so far, up 5 spots for Simon as he presses on over the race.
You can see on the graphic that's just been put up on the bottom of the screen in the middle there, basically trading who's gained time on each lap, and it's been less than a 1/10 of a second every single time. So yeah, that's pretty impressive that they're matching each other's pace so well there. In those two Ferraris just hanging back, they do have someone just behind in the McLaren. I think that's Young, a couple seconds back, who might try and catch up if these two start battling, but it doesn't look like they're going to. That's why they're just going to stick together. Actually, the driver behind might try and save a bit of fuel whilst they're behind. Just stick behind and save time in the pit stop and try and overtake that way. That's a very effective strategy that you can do. And yeah, these two Ferraris, the highest placed Ferraris, but yeah, most of the cars have a good representation in the series, which is, like I said earlier, really good to see. Yeah, these two battling for the final position in the top 10. They have a bit of a big gap in front of them as well to the sole Ford in the field. Nearing halfway distance then in a few seconds. And we might see some drivers start to make a pit stop. That's normally when we see drivers making pit stops. We see them making the early pit stop, then the pit stop right in the middle of the race, and then the late pit stoppers who run the tank as dry as possible and then come in when they desperately need to. So we might see a couple of drivers making their way into the pits on the next time by. We'll have to wait and see, as looks like Paolo might have just gone off track for a moment.
Yeah, I would expect to see, probably for our front runners, the likes of Gallon, Huang, Park and Job, maybe try and press out as far as possible. They've got a little bit of time ahead before they catch up to that lap traffic, so there's plenty of time in the bag for them to be able to get some good times under the way. The mid-pack is going to be the ones that are going to be careful, as there is a car that's just rotated around just on the back there. That's Tex Area, so that's not going to help his championship cause at the moment, but he does get the car back underway. But for these guys, this is probably the time in that midpoint that you want to come through. We'll have a quick look at this replay of how he has just dropped the Mercedes there. Oh,
hit a bump on the curb maybe, or slight snag of grass. Yeah, that was the tightest of margins. And looks like Kim's just got past Brinson on. He ran a little bit wide there at the very same corner. And yeah, Kim makes up a place pretty easily there. Wouldn't have lost too much time compared to the drivers he was fighting before making the pit stop. Gallon, that gap has just been increasing basically constantly for the last 5 laps or so. Pretty much constant gap each lap to Huang. You can see in the background of the shot, and Parker's losing a bit of time to Huang as well. So the top 3 spreading out every single lap, and Tixier now has to try and make up some ground because, of course, losing all of it when he made that error and spun the car around.
Yeah, but he's being very forceful on trying to get the positions back here as he slices one down the inside and gets into the back straight there. I was just keeping an eye too on Gallon's times just as we were having a look at him circulating around as Texarino gets that move done and dusted. For Gallon, on Sector 1, a purple sector just over 20 minutes into this race, so he has got some good tyre life going on in that car. As you see, Brad Ratchet now trying to get the move down the inside, a little bit of a nudge and a bump, and right in the back there is that Ford GT, not giving up a position, just hanging to pick up the crumbs as they fall his way.
Yeah, absolutely. If these two continue to battle with BMW and Audi just in front, then yeah, you could definitely see the Ford try and make a move or two if they hold each other up. Comes to it with the personal best lap last time by 29.123. But I mean, it's a very retro looking car on the inside, isn't it, the Ford, compared to the newer GT3 cars on iRacing with all sorts of buttons and everything on the steering wheel. It's a minimalist design inside of the Ford.
Yeah, but hey, minimalist design works for a lot of these cars. I mean, you know, you're looking at in a current modern GT, especially these two in front, the BMW and the Audi. As you say, you've got those screens in the middle. How much time do you spend looking at them or trying to find the buttons? If it's all just in front of you, quick flick of the finger and off you go and you keep moving. And it's one less thing to break in any of these cars and one less thing to try and find a fault with if it does break.
You can see the BMW, one of the newest GT3s on iRacing, is a lot of information on that screen. Most of which, I don't know about you, Daniel, but with the way I have my view set, I actually can't see most of that screen. I just have the gear indicator on the very bottom of my screen. The rest of it's cut off underneath my screen. I know some drivers in BR that might be a little bit more helpful to them, but for me at least, I rarely look at those screens.
Well,
sometimes
yeah,
they have a little bit of it. Sometimes they do have some information that's very useful though.
I'm very much the same as you. If you want to get the field of view right, I don't see a lot of it. I have got a small little 5-inch Arduino screen that works quite nicely with another piece of software to give me that info, but I am absolutely hanging out for when the new Thrustmaster SF1000 wheel becomes available here in Australia, and iRacing sort out what they need to do to get the screen working, because that will solve a huge amount of issues for guys like us that are trying to get the right FOV for this.
That wheel looks pretty promising. Unfortunately, I don't know if it will work too well on my direct drive wheel. I haven't seen too many things talking about it on direct drive. Obviously, most of the reviews that I've seen of it have been on Thrustmaster bases, which don't quite hold up to the standard that my wheelbase does. So what I've seen is a lot of plastic in there, and I don't know if that will work too well for me. I might have to splash out a bit on another type of wheel rim with a screen on it. But yeah, we'll have to see how that, because that does look really cool, that new wheel. It's definitely an improvement on the old Ferrari F1 rim. As looks like Ratu, with the dummy, sending the Audi up the inside on the defensive line, and now maybe trying to get their cut back into the second hairpin. The Ford closing in as well, as these two have a little bit of a dance out there in the final sector. But this battle's definitely heating up. It looks like Ratu wants to try and make that move before the pit stop cycle begins for these guys. I think he definitely wants to get ahead on track and not have to worry about trying to make an undercut or an overcut work.
Well, it looks like he's really settling in now with the characteristics of this car and this circuit. I mean, we saw in the opening couple of laps not finding the grip that he needed to get the car through, especially down into turn 1 there. He's got it working now nicely for him. So maybe a little bit of a tweak internally to sort that out, but he is not losing much time at all. But being the meat and the sandwich here of a 3-car battle is always tricky, because not only are you looking forward, you've got to keep an eye on what's happening behind you. Will they send one down the inside or not? So it's a pretty stressful time for Ratu here, but he'll be wanting to press on as quick as forward as possible. There is the McLaren there of Fanert just ahead, and that'll be a nice little bit of incentive for these three to push on for and see if they can get up to it.
Oh, running a little bit deep there was Toei, and that's allowed Ratu to get right up alongside. This could possibly be the best opportunity, and now sending it up the inside into the double left-hander, and there might be a little bit of contact. There is. Toei gets pushed out wide, and now look at the Ford trying to make it down the middle 3 wide, but no, Ratu will make the move. The Ford sends it up the inside of the Audi as well, and that's what we were talking about, and now making his way up into 7th, but now gets relegated back down to 8th because Toei had the inside line of that second hairpin, but now things really starting to heat up in this battle, and all caused by a slight mistake from Toei. And oh, he's touched the grass on the brakes. How has he managed to catch that?
That's great reflexes there. He pulled it back in nicely, but Un's going to have a look here down the outside, see if he can use the power of that forward to maybe slingshot around, as he also picks up a little bit of the dirt on the outside of circuit there.
We've actually got the cut back now, and through turn 2 might have a bit of a better line. We'll have to see, but yeah, definitely heating up now. Ratu sort of trying to check out into the distance as these two battle behind him. That would be ideal for him in up now into 6th position, but and definitely trying to get a little bit more racy now, which suggests they're going to try and make pit stops very, very soon. I think unless they've been fuel saving, right about now is where the pit window is ending. So yeah, we'll definitely start to see some drivers making their way into the pits very, very soon indeed. Let's have a look at what the track temperature is. 38 degrees, so it's cooling down a little bit as the sun starts to get a little bit lower in the Japanese sky, but still very hot. So the tyre management is still going to be key, and it looks like Toei's just about got rid of the Ford just behind and doesn't have to worry too much about Anne anymore, but I would definitely expect to see some drivers making their way down into the pits around about now.
Absolutely, and as I say, we're just shy of 12 minutes left on the clock here, so they're going to need to consider those opportunities to come through sooner rather than later. The guys out front have plenty of space where they can come in and get this sorted and drop back in without too much distraction there, as we have a look at those two Ferraris that were battling side by side for quite a while. There has been a change of position for those as they continue on, so Capon is ahead there of Benjamin Brock. Just out in front of these guys is Jamal Gandor, who was one of the first two guys to come down the lane, so hasn't quite worked out for him on his return back up through the field.
Yeah, maybe not what they would have been hoping for. Yeah, very interesting. The first pit stop we saw was about 13 minutes into the race. So yeah, with only 11 left, you would think that the drivers would be wanting to come down onto the pits, so they must have been doing a little bit of fuel saving out there. I know one person who could afford to do a lot is Gallon, because he's got a 6.5 second gap, so you wouldn't think that he would have to come in too early. He's got more than enough pace to save some fuel and comfortably be out in front, and as you can see, did not feel the need to make his way down onto the pits, neither did anyone else behind as well. So the drivers making it last very long out there in terms of fuel. Surely at some point they have to come in pretty soon though, because there's only 10 minutes left of the race. Oh, and there is Ratu into the pits.
Well, yeah, and right on cue, we see the guys considering their opportunities to come through, so Ratu's got that sorted. One thing I was interested in, just as we were having a look at Gallon moving through and we're seeing the times tick over, just how consistent the lap times have been for him in this car. It's only a couple of tenths of a second lap in, lap out that he's differentiating his pace by, so the AMG Mercedes is looking very, very comfortable in his hands at the moment.
Yeah, definitely, and with less than 10 minutes now, surely the leaders have got to start coming into the pits, otherwise we might risk seeing some drivers running out of fuel. I saw that a couple of days ago in another broadcast, and actually coming out in 11th, well ahead of Kim. So that's a position gained for Ratu, so good stuff there for the BMW driver. Kim's just run a little bit wide and gone off circuit out of turn 1 and into turn 2. Now Gallon coming out of the hairpin, going to pull to the left side of the screen. No, not feeling it. That's necessary. Staying out even longer. That's quite insane level of fuel saving that Gallon must have done there, or has hacked the surface so that he doesn't have to pit, because it looks like the drivers behind are all going to.
Well, yeah, and Kevin Huang now in the lane to get his stop. So for the guys that are stopping late, and we'll use Brad Ratu as a reference for that, was 7.6 seconds, which is pretty on par with what we've seen from the guys that stopped early on in the race. Nicholas Ferriant also in as well. So that'll be interesting to see what sort of stationary time these guys have. I expect it's going to be about that 7.5 seconds, but Gallo and the guys in front really got to start considering where they're going to play. I am surprised though, as we saw Ratu come out, that he was able to get that spot over Tai Kim that you were saying as well, Dane, because we saw him in that huge battle for the best part of 4 or 5 laps there, and to still gain an advantage over Kim there is quite a good job, not only for himself, but also the two that we're keeping an eye on here, Toei and Un in the Ford there.
Yeah, because quite possibly the gap between Ratu and Kim wasn't too much, and of course these two are just behind Ratu, so they could end up coming out on the inside of Ratu and Kim, depending on how their laps have been. So it could be particularly interesting, and might not want to try and make a move into the hairpin if he has this sort of information available, because yeah, it could be worth it for these guys to just chill out for a second, head down to the pit as the leader now has. So surely everybody else is going to follow suit, but they might end up coming out very close indeed to those drivers in the bottom of the top 10 in 9th and 10th of Ratu and Kim, because yeah, they were close when Ratu went into the pits, so chances are they're going to be close when they come out and not pitting.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, so Toei in that lap, Texia also. Un continues on for one more tour, so he's got some exceptionally good economy out of a car that in its early life was not known for economy. He's found something in that Ford at the moment, which is great to see.
Well, maybe just being able to save so much fuel hanging back whilst watching the drivers in front battle, and looking at Toei coming out of the pits now. Oh, this could be very close actually. He's miles ahead.
That's a very surprising run there. It'd be interesting to have a look at the lap times that Toei was able to do, because we saw Ratu get ahead and he cleared him quite comfortably. Even with, well, it was a 6/10 shorter pit stop for Toei, which has ultimately brought him ahead. As we have a look at the laps down the bottom there, not too much really in it at all, but just a great stop for him.
Yeah, so very interesting there. And well, Anna's now got the race leader to look at as he makes his way through the final sector. I know I've said this every single lap for the last 10 minutes or so now, but seriously, he's got a pit now. Surely there's only 5 minutes left of the race. He's trying to go all the way to the end. No, finally.
There's no way.
Forced into the pits there. I know that it is possible because at some circuits, Jamie Fluke on his stream has done that 1 or 2 times. Did it at Sonoma. I think he tried to do it again at Long Beach. It is possible to make it 40 minutes without stopping. Something has happened between these two drivers into the hairpin, and Dan Paolo found himself facing the wrong way and what looks like turn 5. So let's see what happened in the hairpins here. Oh, a little bit of contact there. And not seeing anything that would look like what we saw into the hairpin just yet. Ah, here it might be actually. Oh, the McLaren not braking at all. It might have been quite a bit of netcode. Actually, there's a lot of netcode involved in that one. Into the hairpin, and Paolo just under turning. Just the car has swapped ends, and it might be due to the tyres overheating maybe. That didn't look like Dutch de Graaf did anything particularly wrong. Probably just those tyres giving up on it.
Yeah, I would put it down to tyres in that. I mean, a couple of seasons ago, the Audi was very known for looping a back end like that, but that one there looked like it was just the tyres giving out. I was having a look through those pit stop times we were talking about before between Toei and Ratu, and I think the big difference that's helped Toei get ahead, he had a 2 seconds or just over 2.2 second quicker total pit stop transit time compared to Ratu as well. So not only was it a quicker pit stop, the total time transiting the lane was significantly quicker, which has got him back ahead.
Actually, I did notice that Ratu misjudged the pit entry totally. Going around it's obviously a pretty tight pit entry. You've got the wall very close on either side. Coming around the final corner inside of the pit entry, he almost came to a full stop, not realizing that the cones to mark the pit entry were quite far down the line still. I think playing it very safe there might have cost him a position, because yeah, he almost stopped on his way into the pits and then had to get back going again and then brake for the pit entry line. So maybe that's what happened there. It's really interesting. I think that's what we're about to say.
Yeah, right on cue. Mr. Marco Pavanera picks up the run on the pit lane entry. So yeah, he makes a little bit of a meal initially coming in, but yeah, you're right. He's well on the anchors very early, expecting probably those cones to be a lot further back than where they're actually situated on circuit.
So yeah, maybe he needed to practice. Maybe that's a lesson you can learn now. Practice pit entry. Know where the pit entry cones are, and you might find yourself not losing positions as much in the pit lane. But yeah, he's dropping back a little bit. 1.3 seconds is the gap between himself and Toei ahead now, and he's got another 1.5 behind to the forward of Anne. So Anne lost out quite a lot of time in the pit stop cycle as well, maybe trying to make it a little bit too far on fuel, having to lift off a little bit too much and losing a bit too much time. 2 minutes left of the race then. Gallon leading by 7.9 seconds out in front. Absolutely dominant as usual for the Brazilian, doing a fantastic job this season. Fang in second. He's got Park 5 seconds back from him. So no one really in the top 5 drivers involved in a battle with each other. Although once you get past 5th, there's a couple drivers separated by 3 seconds. So yeah, the top 5 looks pretty sorted at the moment. But looking further down the field, you've got Kim here in 9th with Tixia behind. And it looks like Tixia might try and make some kind of move. He's sort of fighting for 9th and 10th. There he goes down the inside. Is he going to get that stopped? No, Kim gets the switch back down the inside and retakes the position. So brilliant driving there from Kim.
That's an awesome move there. Read that situation beautifully and just allowed Tixia through to overshoot the brakes, but that's great heads-up driving there.
And that's quite possibly one of the most infuriating things for Tixia, going down the inside and getting the position taken straight back again. As Gallon comes across the line, white flag is in the air, so final lap 27 in this 8th round of the championship, and looks like Gallon's going to cruise to victory by around about 8 seconds. Look at that, he's already through turn 5 now, as the outside of the top 5 just crossing the start-finish line now. He's got an absolute monster gap behind him. And just a few corners left to go. You can see there in the background is Kevin Monk. So yeah, Gallon doing a fantastic job out here. He's led every single lap of the race. Glenn Paolo has that Audi step out on him again. Looks like out of turn 5 again. So maybe this time it was on under power, because I don't think he would have got that far without getting onto the power at some point through the corner. But going a lap down and having to let everybody by, doing so pretty well, keeping out of everyone's way. Good stuff there. And Gallon is coming dangerously close to the end of the lap. 40 minutes is well and truly up. Kim is not going to have to worry about things here in the mirrors. And there he goes around the final corner. Luis Gallon in the number 21. The Brazilian takes the win in round number 8. Comes across the line. Absolutely brilliant performance from him. Flashing the headlights, you can tell he's pretty happy with that. The McLaren of Kevin Huang will come across the line in second. And Park in the Audi flashing the headlights as well. Pretty happy with that one too. Comes across the line to finish in on the podium. So brilliant stuff from the top three. And Kim has got Texture just behind, a little bit of pressure heading into the final corner, but should be able to make it work very nicely. A little bit of a touch onto the gravel, but Kim will finish in ninth. Texture will take the final position in the top 10, and that's, I think, Glenn Powler, who's just lost the car once again out of the final corner. So that's the second time, at least this lap. Possibly gonna tow? No, trying to turn around because yeah, that's a pretty dangerous position to try and rejoin the circuit right in front of somebody. And I think that might have even been, no, it's not Gallon, it's Stubber in 17th who crosses the line. Very similar paint, at least on my screen. I haven't got paints running, so it probably looks very different on everyone else's screen at the moment. But yeah, that was a pretty good race there. We had quite a few battles throughout the field.
We did. It was a great race, pretty well from start to finish. Beautifully controlled again from Gallon. Not only did he really got away right at the start and then just put the head down and got on with business beautifully. But saw some awesome battles down throughout the field, which was fantastic to see. Some great driving from everyone. Some, a few battles where the guys lent on each other and no one really nerfing anyone off out in the weed, which was fantastic as well. And I think that really showed the standard of driving just continues to progress season on season within Sim Racing Asia.
Yep, absolutely. And then confirmation of the race results, pending protest, of course, but I doubt there's going to be too many of those because, yeah, it was an extremely clean race. I think almost everybody finishing the race, and I don't think anyone didn't finish the race due to damage. So, yeah, good stuff today. Luis Gallon takes the win, of course. 8.5 seconds it was across the line. Kevin Huang in second, then Park in third in the Audi, then Hong Soet in fourth, Nicholas Fernand in fifth, then Toi, Ratu, and Kim Tixia. They had some good battles throughout the race there, as you can see in the background of the screen. Gallon giving us some donuts out on the start-finish straight. Jamal Gandor, the earliest pit stopper in the field, he finishes in 11th, so good position there for Gandor. Then Calabon in 12th, Simon Sanchez in 13th, then Benjamin Brook, Ryan Long, out Aaron Mitt, Cameron Stubber, Bunsanon in 18th, and then the drivers who did not finish on the lead lap, Glenn Paolo and Kim Kyung Ao in one lap down, finishing in 19th and 20th. Thomas Ferry 3 laps down, and the only retirement of the race, I believe, Kei Kai in 22nd, finished 20 laps down. I think that's the driver that we saw pull over on the start-finish straight and exit the session. So I'm not too sure what happened there, but for the most part, extremely clean race, and yeah, that was a pretty good round of the season.
Absolutely. I mean, as we said earlier on, it was going to always be a tricky one here tonight. Not only the high track temperatures, but also the slipperiness of the Japanese circuit here. And I think everyone, got up and showed what they're made of, and as a result of that, the racing was absolutely standout. So cannot wait to see what continues on for the remainder of the championship. Maybe going to throw the helmet back on and come out for a run, but for the front two at the moment, Gallon and Huang, they are just really packing away the points as they need to and setting themselves up for a good look at the championship.
Absolutely, and yeah, Okayama proving me wrong. I didn't really think Okayama was going to provide us too much of a good race, but definitely drivers and the circuit proved me wrong today. And if you are a fan of Okayama, as we've said a couple times in the last few days here on Apex Racing TV, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, because we've got a lot of Okayama still to come this weekend. Later on today, 7 PM UTC or GMT, Apex Racing Academy F3 VRS Super Series Round 5 at Okayama, and that's going to be later on tonight. Then we've got the Formula 3.5 Championship at Road Atlanta. That's at 9:45 PM UTC. Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors tomorrow night at 7:55 UTC, round 9 at Suzuka, and then back to Okayama for more F3 in the IGP Fun F3 and VRS series. That's at Okayama round 9 of their season at 8:25 PM. We've also got the Rikmatech series returning, Classic Sprint series, round 7 at Barber, very early, midnight on May 18th in GMT or UTC. And yeah, also later that evening, I believe we've got Ray Esports Racing League. So lots to come here on Apex Racing TV. So do leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell as well. We also have to thank, of course, we have to thank the sponsor of this series, the main sponsor of the series, Next Level Racing, because of course this series would not be possible without them. And yeah, they are providing a F-GT rig from Next Level Racing to the overall series champion, and a GT-Lite rig to a random participant. That's going to be drawn at the end of the season. And yeah, a random person in the league will win a GT-Lite rig. So great to have Next Level Racing on board. Also, very big thank you to the Macau-China Sim Racing Association and the SimR Garage for powering this series, and also the Sim Racing Association's SG and Motorsports Singapore for supporting Sim Racers Asia. Without them, absolutely none of this would be possible, and it would definitely not be possible. That Sim Racers Asia celebrates its 10th year of running leagues this year. So absolutely thank you very much to all of those associations. And yeah, that is all that we have time for here for round number 8. We'll rejoin for, I believe, the season finale, round 10, in 2 weeks' time. But for now, for myself, Dane Baird, for Daniel Leet and Marco Barbonera in the production booth, and everyone else here at Apex Racing TV, we would like to thank you for watching and wish you a good night and happy racing.